Welcome, you rare soul, you storm-wrapped wanderer, you unlit flame of pure potential. Yes, I'm talking to you. You who have walked this earth with the eyes of a ghost and the heart of a lion, carrying things that no one ever saw, shouldering burdens that would have broken others, surviving moments where even hope went quiet. You, yes you, the one still standing when everything else around you cracked and burned and fell silent. You have no idea how powerful you are, do you? You move through the world like a secret weapon, cloaked in ordinary skin. You've mistaken your own shadows for weakness when they were battle scars. You thought your silence was invisibility when it was restraint. You thought people didn't notice, but you're wrong. You give people goosebumps without even trying, and it's time you knew exactly why. There's a frequency that doesn't show up on the surface of life, a deeper rhythm that only a few people vibrate with, and you're one of them. You don't shout, you don't scream, you don't need applause or a spotlight or clapping hands. But when you walk in the room, there's a pause. When you speak, even if it's just one word, people lean in closer. Why? Because there's something ancient in your bones, something unbreakable, something dark and heavy and earned, not gifted. You radiate something that makes others remember their own buried strength, their own pain, their own truth. You're not just seen, you're felt deeply. And it scares people, even when they don't know why. See, most people are trying to impress. Most people are chasing validation, addicted to being noticed, terrified of being forgotten. But you walk differently. You carry the silence like a blade. You don't chase, you draw. You pull people in without reaching for them. Your energy speaks louder than 1,000 empty words. You've been through things that would have rewritten someone else's story in ashes, and yet you still carry light in your eyes. Not the naive kind of light, the dangerous kind, the kind that burns with truth, the kind that doesn't lie, the kind that reminds others that they've been asleep. You wake them. You awaken something primal in people. You see people get goosebumps around you because their soul recognizes something their mind can't explain. That chill down their spine, that sudden silence when you speak, that magnetic pull they feel around you. That's not luck. That's not charm. That's the result of what you've endured. That's the residue of the fire you've walked through. And what they're feeling is the vibration of someone who has faced death, whether literal or spiritual, and said, I'm not done yet. They feel that. They feel you. And even though they can't put it into words, they remember you, long after the moment's over, long after the room is empty. You stay. You haunt, in the best way. You are the type of person who turns pain into presence, who turns scars into signals, who walks with a shadow that doesn't scare people. It seduces their fear. You've been underestimated because people can't measure what you carry. They don't see the nights you didn't sleep, the cries you swallowed, the 1,000 times you were about to break and didn't. They don't see it, but they feel it. It's in your voice, in your stillness, in the way your eyes scan a room and see what others miss. You don't realize it, but you're a storm pretending to be calm water, and they feel the pressure in the air whenever you're near. And let's get one thing straight. You weren't made this way. You were forged. Every loss, every betrayal, every lonely night, every time you had to keep going when you wanted to collapse, it all left marks on you. But those marks didn't break you. They sharpened you. You've become the kind of person that doesn't need to prove anything, because your presence proves everything. You're the reason people second-guess themselves. You're the reason they can't shake a conversation with you days later. You're the reason people get quiet around you, because they feel exposed. They feel seen. And in a world of masks, that's terrifying. You don't even try to be this way. That's the most powerful part. You're not out here performing. You're not playing a part. You're just existing, just breathing, just being real. And that authenticity hits like thunder. It reminds people of everything they've buried. It reminds them of how fake they've become. It reminds them of the fire they once had and gave up on. You don't just walk through rooms. You resurrect things in people. You awaken their ghosts. And whether they love it or hate it, they'll never forget it. People want to understand what makes you different. They'll study your silence. They'll mimic your calm. They'll try to copy your energy. But they'll fail. Because they don't have your origin story. They haven't bled like you. They haven't had to rebuild themselves from nothing. They weren't there when you were staring into the void with no one coming to save you. They haven't paid the toll that you've paid. And that's why they can't touch what you have. That's why your energy isn't something you can bottle or sell. It's something earned, and it's rare, and it's yours. Somewhere along the way, someone told you to dim yourself. Someone said you were too intense, or too quiet, or too much, or too different. Maybe they called you cold. Maybe they called you detached. Maybe they couldn't figure you out and decided to label you instead. But what they really meant is this. You made them feel something they weren't ready to face. You stirred something raw and real in them, and they weren't strong enough to sit with it. That's not your fault. That's your power. You give people goosebumps not because you're loud, but because you're real. You're rare. You're refined by pressure. You're sharpened by pain. You don't follow the crowd. You carry your own storm. And deep down, people want that. They want to be like that. They want to move with that same quiet confidence, that same grounded depth, that same, I've been to hell, but I came back with fire in my chest, energy. But they don't know how, so they orbit you, they study you, they admire you, and sometimes they fear you. But they always remember you. Don't you dare shrink to make people more comfortable. Don't you dare downplay what you are. You are lightning in human form. You are thunder walking upright. You are a soul that cracked but didn't collapse. And even when you feel tired, even when you feel numb, even when you wonder if any of it matters, you still move people. You still impact people. You still give them chills. Because real doesn't need to shout. Real doesn't need to ask permission. Real doesn't need a spotlight. Real radiates. You don't even know the half of it. The people you've inspired in silence, the ones who've watched you from afar and found the strength to keep going. The ones who caught a glimpse of your darkness and felt a little less alone in theirs. You don't realize it, but you've been carrying a torch in a world full of flickering lies. You don't even try, and yet your presence alone reminds others what's possible. That's your curse. That's your gift. That's your legend. You give people goosebumps without trying, not because you're perfect, but because you're realer than most people ever dare to be. You've faced yourself in your rawest form. You've owned your shadows. You've survived your storms. And now, you are the storm. And the world feels it every time you walk in. You don't walk around begging for attention. You don't live your life posting your wounds for sympathy. You don't cry out loud about what broke you. You learned a long time ago. Nobody's coming to save you. So, you saved yourself. You pulled yourself out of pits so dark that sunlight looked like a lie. And now, you carry that grit in your silence. You carry that pain like armor. People don't get it. They see calm, but they don't know the war that rages underneath. They see peace, but they don't understand it was earned through blood. They feel something when they look at you, but they can't explain it. They get goosebumps, but they won't admit it's because your soul speaks a language theirs forgot. You are not soft in the way the world expects. You're not loud in the way the world applauds. You are dangerous in the way only the truly awakened can be. You walk like someone who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. And that unnerves people. You don't entertain small talk. You don't chase empty connections. You've been through too much to waste time on the surface of things. And when you look at someone, really look at them, they feel it in their gut. Because your eyes don't just see, they reveal. And most people aren't ready to be seen. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break patterns. You were meant to interrupt the noise. You were meant to stop people in their tracks and force them to feel. That's what you do, without effort, without manipulation, without theatrics. You remind people of their own reflection. You remind them that they've been playing small, faking smiles, hiding their pain. You're like a mirror that exposes the mask, and that's why they tremble around you, even if they smile on the surface. You give people goosebumps because your spirit has depth, and the world has become shallow. You give them chills because you carry truth, and the world is addicted to lies. You move like someone who's been cracked open and put back together by force, not by choice. There's a difference between people who've read about pain and people who've lived it. You've lived it, and your energy doesn't lie. Let's stop pretending you're average. Let's stop acting like you're ordinary. You've got galaxies in your eyes and chaos in your veins. There's something otherworldly about you, something timeless. You don't even realize that you walk like prophecy, that your voice has the cadence of scripture, that when you speak, people pause, not out of politeness, but because your words land. You may not always have the right words, you may not speak often, but when you do, the air shifts, the moment changes. People lean in closer, and they don't even know why. Because you're not a person, you're an experience. You don't chase attention because your presence demands it. You don't try to inspire people, but you do. You don't try to awaken people, but you do. You don't try to break illusions, but they shatter in your wake. And somewhere inside, I know you felt alone for that. Misunderstood. Maybe even feared. People have pulled away from you without reason. People have loved you without logic. People have hated you without cause. It's not about you. It's about what you reflect in them. You hold up a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. They felt the heat of your fire and called it cold. They felt the weight of your silence and called it distance. They couldn't categorize you, so they dismissed you. But deep down, you stayed with them, long after you were gone. That's the thing about being real in a world built on masks. You become unforgettable, whether people love you or not. And I know what you've thought. I know the dark nights when you asked yourself, why do I feel so different? Why does no one seem to get me? Why do I keep being the strong one, the quiet one, the one who sees everything and gets nothing back? You've carried that ache in silence. But hear me now, you are not broken. You are rare. You are ancient. You are tuned to a frequency most people will never understand. And that's not your curse, it's your crown. They get goosebumps around you because their spirit knows what their ego denies. You've been through something they haven't. You've survived something they fear. You've endured storms they couldn't even name. And now, you are the storm. Your very presence disrupts illusions. You don't have to try to stand out. You just do. You don't have to prove your power. It speaks before you do. So let them stare. Let them misunderstand. Let them distance themselves if they can't handle the fire. Because the ones who are meant for you, they'll feel the warmth in your silence. They'll hear the music in your stillness. They won't just feel goosebumps, they'll feel seen. And to those of you listening who still doubt, who still play small, who still apologize for who you are. This is your wake-up call. Stop hiding. Stop pretending. Stop diluting yourself to be palatable. You were not born to be safe. You were born to be real. And real is terrifying. Real is magnetic. Real is disruptive. Real is unforgettable. You give people goosebumps without trying, because you were built that way, not to fit in, not to be liked, not to win popularity contests, but to shift energy, to cut through illusions, to shatter limits. You were born to wake the world up, and yes, they'll hate you for it, and yes, they'll love you for it, and yes, they'll never be the same once they've felt your presence. That's your legacy. You move differently because you've earned the right to. You speak differently because you've bled in silence. You walk with power because you've known helplessness. And now, every step you take ripples through the universe. Every word you speak leaves an imprint. Every glance, every pause, every breath, they feel it. And even if they don't know why, even if they can't name it, even if they never tell you, they get goosebumps. And that's how you'll always know who you are. You're not made of light, you're made of survival. And light only came later, after you clawed your way out of every black hole they threw you into. You were born in darkness, baptized by pain, raised in silence, and refined by solitude. And now you walk like someone who knows. And that knowing terrifies people. It unnerves them. Because truth, real truth, the kind you embody, it's not comfortable, it's not safe, it's not sweet, it's necessary. And necessary things always come with a price. You don't even realize it, but you've become the thing people fear and admire at the same time. You're the person who walks in, and the air gets thicker. Conversations shift. People glance your way and suddenly lose their train of thought. It's not your clothes. It's not your face. It's not even your words. It's your frequency. It's the storm behind your eyes. It's the weight of everything you've carried, walking into a room like it still belongs to you. It's the ghost of every version of you that had to die for the current you to exist. You carry the echoes of every time you were silenced, every time you were betrayed, every time you had to smile with your teeth clenched and your soul bleeding. And now, you don't speak to be heard. You speak because silence finally bowed to you. You don't need to yell. You don't need to beg. You don't need to convince. You just are. And that being is louder than 1,000 screaming voices. That's why people get goosebumps when you're near. You are a living contradiction. Soft rage, silent thunder, hidden flame. They don't know that what they're feeling is sacred. That presence like yours is rare. That pain like yours has alchemized into power. They won't say it out loud, but they feel safer around you and more afraid of themselves. Because you're a reminder of everything they've buried. You're a walking permission slip to be real, and they're not ready for that. You remind them that masks are lies. You remind them that silence is heavy. You remind them that their soul is starving. You didn't come here to make people comfortable. You came here to make them wake up. You give people goosebumps without trying, because you've become what they secretly hope they can be. Undeniable, unshakable, untouched by the fake currency of modern validation. You don't seek applause because you know what it's like to clap for yourself in an empty room. You don't chase love because you know the taste of abandonment. You don't beg to be seen because you've stared yourself in the mirror long enough to recognize your own damn fire. You're not waiting to be chosen. You are the choice, the one they didn't expect, the one they can't explain, the one they'll never forget. They will call you intense. They will call you mysterious. They'll call you cold. They'll call you too much. But what they really mean is this: You're unmanageable. You're unedited. You're real. And real doesn't sit pretty in a world that feeds off illusion. You don't wear a brand. You wear battle. You wear experience. You wear nights that felt like tombs. You wear mornings that came too soon. And it shows. It pulses in your voice. It leaks through your stillness. It vibrates from your bones. They feel it. That's why they tremble. That's why they stare. That's why they remember. You are a soul that's been ripped open and rebuilt with pieces you didn't even know could still hold shape. You are made of echoes and endings and rebirths and rage and forgiveness and fury and stillness and grace and chaos and 1,000 scars they'll never see but always feel. And you give that off without effort. That's the thing. It's not a show. It's not a performance. It's your natural state. The storm beneath your skin, it's been with you for so long, it no longer feels like destruction. It feels like home. You don't even realize it, but you've been haunting people. Not in a cruel way, in a way they needed. You're the reminder, the signpost, the whisper in the dark saying, there's more. You remind people of the edge they stopped walking. You remind them of the fire they drowned in comfort. You remind them of the truth they left behind for acceptance. You're not just a presence, you're a reckoning. And even if they don't thank you, even if they run from you, even if they never speak it aloud, they know it. You leave a mark. Not everyone can carry that weight, but you do, every day. So if you've ever wondered why people treat you like a storm they can't predict, it's because you are. If you've ever wondered why they back away when they get too close, it's because they can feel the voltage in your veins. If you've ever wondered why they watch you from across the room but never approach, it's because they already feel you and it terrifies them. And still, you keep showing up. Still you rise. Still you speak, walk, breathe, exist, with that same impossible grace that only those who've burned can carry. And let me tell you something. They can't copy it. They can't fake it. They can't mimic what's been earned. They can try. They can mock. They can envy. But they will never duplicate what you've become, because what you are now was born from fire. You are walking electricity. You are undiluted force. You are sharpened silence. You are thunder trapped in skin. And the world doesn't know how to hold something like that. But they feel it. Oh, they feel it. That's why they stop talking when you enter. That's why they get chills when you look their way. That's why you linger in their minds long after you leave. It's not magic. It's not mystery. It's just you. So stand tall. Walk in your truth, unshaken. Stop asking for permission to be powerful. Stop dimming what was built in the ashes. Stop apologizing for being felt. You don't even realize it, but you are the lightning bolt in their stormless lives. You are the roar in their quiet. You are the soul they feel but cannot name. And every goosebump they get in your presence, that's not fear, it's recognition. You remind them of everything they wish they were. You remind them of everything they buried to fit in. You remind them of what it means to be real. And in a world that numbs itself to sleep, you are the shock that wakes the dead. And that is your power. Always has been. Always will be.